That's the first time I got to see that. I was excited about it.
That was intense. Like,
That
oh,
was.
good.
Is it? We
Talk
got to see. We
systems.
we got to bring the intensity. How's everybody doing? This is Systems Overload. I am Mike, the new guy over at Even Footing Games.
And I'm Jimmy St. James, and I am the, I don't know, what do I do there, Mike? I do all
I think
kinds of
you're like a
stuff.
systems designer.
Yeah, I think so. I think I design systems and playtest systems and generally just be handsome.
I got my stage managers over here telling our audio is not working. So let me confer.
I can hear you. Can you
I
hear
I, I
me?
can hear you. Wait. She says talk.
Talk.
Okay, we're on. Apparently, she had the computer muted over there, so we're
Wow.
all good. So, tell us a little bit about Even Footing Games, Jim, if you would, please.
We are a group of like minded and fun individuals. Most of us, or I think not most of us, but about half of us met at another game company. And we had some really fun and unique ideas for narrative games. So we made this game called Babies and Broadswords together. A whole bunch of us just had a really good time making it. We released it back in January, and we are releasing more stuff, more games, more role
Yeah,
playing games, more add ons for Babies and Broadswords, and we're
yeah,
just keeping ourselves busy.
yeah. It's like the train got started there, and when you get enough like-minded individuals together, I mean, you got to get going.
Who
So,
knows? Who knows what you can do?
right on, right on. Speaking of Babies and Broadswords, you can find that it is available on Amazon.com as well as Drive Through RPG. So definitely give that a look. Today we'll be talking about the potential system. It is under development. So everything that we say here today is subject to change. I'm just going to let that use this blanket disclaimer. Everything is being worked on as we go, and as
Like a
we get it,
disclaimer, you
as we
can't
play
trust
that,
anything Jimmy says.
don't trust any one of us here. No, it's coming out though. I mean, it's on its way out. We don't know when. We do have. I hope I'm allowed to talk about Crawl of Cthulhu. That
Yeah.
is coming out here soon. I don't know when. We will have a release date for that very soon. Hopefully by next week, we'll have a little bit more information. I know it'll be available before the spooky season hits us. So, and that's going to be. I'm looking forward to that. Some of the behind the scenes stuff I got to look at, it's looking amazing. The artwork is just it's cool for the artwork, man. I'm really enjoying the babyfying of the whole mythos. That's going to be really cool. Um,
It does look funny, Jason. He's cracks me up, man.
they
Stuff
do
he
a hell of a
writes is so
job, man.
funny.
It's really good. I haven't got to read anything yet. I've just seen some of the art stuff, and Jack's hitting it out of the park with all that. Everybody involved with it. Jack is the art director at Even Footing Games, and they're doing a wonderful job. But we're here to talk about the potential system today. You actually are going to be running what is it, like a spotlight over at the Magpie
On
Discord.
Magpie, yeah, Magpie Games Discord, they're having a community designer spotlight. So people who are in their community and participate, a bunch of people submitted games to uh, to kind of show off and play test this weekend.
Hmm.
On Saturday, I was selected among them to do my thing and run a session. We're going to go through character creation, and we're going to go through interpretation of the rules, and we're going to run a short conflict. I hope it's a long conflict or lots of conflicts, but we'll see what we can fit in, and
Wow.
hopefully I get some really useful feedback from
Yeah,
other
yeah,
designers.
yeah. The feedback from people in the industry would be invaluable. So that's going to be cool, and that'll be at their Discord. I want to invite everyone out there to our Discord. Even Footing Games. The static invite is down there at the bottom, with all its gobbledygook whatnot. So yeah, join us on there. You can look and find games to play. We're very active. if you want to, if you've watched between 1 and 2 p.m. on weekdays, I'm goofing around. If you want to be a part of me goofing around between 1 and 2 p.m. Eastern time every day, get on our Discord and DM me. I'm NPC Mike on there. Usually I play around with like Xbox stuff, but we can hang out. So, anyways, let's get back to the potential system. What we're going to be talking about today is the conflict. You said that you're hoping for a long conflict in there. I had wanted to talk about the game changers, but I thought getting the conflict down, because I mean, when you start into an RPG, or at least when I start reading a book, finding out exactly how the combat works is one of the first things I do. I
Yeah.
come from the D&D background, Call of Cthulhu, all those older games. Not older games, more not mature. I don't know. They're old. Whatever. So a lot of this newer stuff that's come out with the Powered by Apocalypse really changed a lot of stuff in the RPG or the TTRPG universe. Doing more narrative style things. So I figured we'd get into the potential systems stuff here. I even got slides. Let's bring it up here.
Man,
So, yeah, ain't that beautiful? I wonder who did that artwork.
man,
That is hot.
it does look cool.
It is. We'll be talking about, and as we're talking about the potential system, we'll be mentioning that this is how it pertains to los. I say this wrong every time, Jim. So you want to
Los Demonios,
Los Demonios.
City of Demons.
Yes. So when we're talking about the potential system, it is being designed to be kind of like a plug and play. So you can get it here. You can adapt it to your world, homebrew world, or whatever. When we're talking about how it is in the City of Demons and how we're using that. Before we get into it too much, Jim, working in up to conflict, because it's not all conflict, okay?
No.
So what leads up to conflict and what wouldn't be a conflict, I guess.
So most of the game takes place, well, and I think it's going to be different for each group, but a large part of the game takes place in a narrative sense where we're sharing ideas and moving the story forward, just like in any other RPG. And those are simpler roles. You're going to roll when you roll for a challenge. It's going to be you versus the environment, you versus
Yeah.
a difficulty. But when you start to get involved with other characters, NPCs, monsters, things like that, and you have to do a contested role, there's a chance we might go into conflict.
But just because it's a contested role doesn't necessarily mean you're going straight in the combat, right? It may just be like
No,
maybe one or two off.
it could be. It just depends how many people you have involved in this. Because if you're running with your gang in the City of Demons, which you probably will be, you're
Oh
playing a
yeah,
gangster in a
yeah,
gang that
yeah.
you create
Oh
at the
yeah,
beginning of the game, then you're going to be with some of your other friends from the gang, some of these other members.
yeah,
So it depends who gets involved and who wants to continue. Because if you get into, I found this off early on in the system, if you get into a conflict, as soon as you roll that contested die, it could end as quickly as it began,
yeah.
because it can you can almost knock someone out of a fight if you do the right move, roll properly against the right person.
Yeah, 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 and it not well. I guess it would be considered the right move. It's just whatever is going to take them down and out. Whatever it is, be it a social interaction or something. That's what I've enjoyed a lot of in the playtesting is the social interactions and just absolutely shaming someone down.
Yeah.
That's a cool mechanic. I mean, from a more traditional, I guess, RPG standpoint, man, it's fires and steel, and magic. This is like you give somebody the finger and taunt them enough, they'll just, you can take them out that way. But usually that's more of a conflict. So when you get into conflict, we'll go through kind of like the steps. The
Okay.
first step is the approach that you take. Now,
Yes.
the approach is changes every round, which I really like. It's almost like this is kind of how it sets up. Just to use what people will probably understand is to use initiative. So you can
Yeah.
actually redesign your order and the initiative as you go. And if you want to go ahead and talk a little bit about the different approaches that you can take,
Absolutely.
beginning at the new round, we'll sit here and listen.
All right. So when you get into conflict, which is usually when we've made a challenge and a bunch of people want to get involved, or both people in this dispute really want to continue challenging one another,
Mm-hmm.
then we go to conflict. So
Mm-hmm.
everybody involved then picks when they go in the order, in the conflict order, rather than just simply rolling. If you are acting
Mm-hmm.
aggressively, then you're going to move more
Mm-hmm.
quickly than
Yeah.
someone who's trying to be cautious and isn't even sure if they want to enter the fray.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're reckless and you're just immediate acting, you
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't do a lot, yet you can do it very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the first person who gets to act in conflict, is the person who is moving recklessly.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a very limited scale of things you can do. You can move around, change where you are on the
Mm-hmm.
battlefield, sort of thing. So if you're trying to run away, then you have that opportunity. Or if you're
Yeah.
trying to catch someone, you have that opportunity. You can
Uh,
challenge someone. Go ahead.
mm-hmm. Well, I was going to say a lot. The reckless approach feels very physical, whatever that may be. Be it running, fleeing, running into battle. It just feels like a physical
Yes, very much so.
Hmm.
Very much so. It's usually physical moves. You can impede someone as well as you can challenge, maneuver, or impede.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. And we'll get into all the moves next as well. Um,
yeah,
so
when we say challenge, that means get into a contested role versus one another.
yeah,
And the other things, they do what they say they do. And when you impede someone, you're slowing them down. When you're maneuver, you're
mm-hmm.
moving around.
Mm-hmm.
And in reckless, you get to empower, which is what the potential system is all about. Spend potential to upgrade your role.
Yeah,
But the real thing that also continues to kind of dominate the reckless is, you're right, physical characters get to move first.
yeah, mm-hmm.
So if you're acting mentally, if you're using a mental role, then you are going to go second or maybe third
Mm-hmm.
or last. Because
Mm-hmm.
usually a lot of people on reckless are going physical
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they
That
want to go first.
yeah. They're committed. Um, they're heading in. You know.
Yes. And then if several people pick reckless and several people go physical, then we move to tiebreakers, which does happen sometimes. And the tiebreaker works exactly the same way it does when you're taking turns in Babies and Broadswords. You roll a d6 and compare.
Mm-hmm.
Simple enough.
Yep. 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 And everything, just in case we haven't mentioned it, or in case you were wondering, everything in the potential system based on the D6.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the next down, I guess, in the uh, initiative order would be an aggressive stance.
Yes.
You can do a little bit more in the aggressive
You can.
stance.
Not only can you have more to choose from, you're going to add influence to that. So you can now influence people as well. But
Hmm.
you can also choose, rather than just, because in reckless you can choose one maneuver or one action. I mean, I'm sorry,
Hmm.
it could be maneuver, and then you get an empower
Yeah.
automatically.
Hmm.
So in aggressive, you get to choose. So you can you can challenge, maneuver.
Yep.
Empower is one of the choices, so you could empower as well. But usually, I find if you're wanting to use that empower action and you're wanting to go first, the only way you take the aggressive approach, if you're using empower, is if you're influencing someone.
Yeah, yeah, that's what, and that's come up in some of our playtesting as well, using that aggressive stance. Now, you're going to be acting after some of the physical altercation, but you're able to start buffing, for better or worse, buffing or debuffing certain character, either teammates or whatever you're up against, be it a monster or a bad guy at a bar or something.
Yeah, I actually had a player who did empower on aggressive, and they were able to interact with their character sheet, really setting themselves up for the next round,
Mm-hmm.
winning tiebreakers, because some of the moves you can do, some of these
Yeah.
conflict actions
Mm-hmm.
break ties or give
Mm-hmm.
you some advantage to make it so that we don't go to a die roll.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll talk about those in a minute.
Yeah. Now
So
that brings us down to the neutral, the like, and honestly, and this is something that maybe we can talk about a little bit of development stuff. A neutral stance kind of seems like, I think that needs to be changed to like the wording, because that means
all the
it's,
name of it.
yeah, just like, I don't know what it would be, but neutral to me feels like, again, I take it back to like the old school stuff where it's like, yeah, I'm neutral. I'm neither good nor bad. Take it to the alignment area, where it's like, it feels like neutral. I may get involved. I may not get involved.
That's usually
So,
what happens on neutral, except
oh
for,
well, then that's
well,
perfectly
actually,
fine.
that's usually what happens on cautious. Neutral tends to be the character or the player who wants to do the most,
Okay,
because,
okay.
and this is where we see we're moving away from those physical
Physical, yeah, yeah.
challenges, going before mental or emotional challenges,
Mm-hmm.
and we're into mental gets to go first
Yeah,
in
yeah.
neutral. So it's you're going to be able to choose from any action except for the prepare action, which
Mm-hmm.
we'll talk about that in a minute. But you can choose any two actions, very much like aggressive,
Mm-hmm.
and you get an empower on top of that. So technically, you can get three actions total on neutral.
So, and it's almost, and what I'm seeing here, is like, you're almost, I don't want to say sacrificing. You're spending your initiative currency. You may be spending it down to
Mhm.
be able to do more on your turn, um,
Exactly.
which is a really neat idea. I really like that. And let's go into cautious now. Cautious is where we're getting a little bit trepidation.
Mhm.
You're going into this a little bit backwards. What advantages would you get for taking the cautious stance?
Well, on cautious, you get to choose any two actions except for challenge. You are
Hmm.
unable to challenge.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And some cool things about cautious is if a cautious character is challenged at any time, they may use one of their actions prematurely to brace or impede.
So, no, well, sorry to interrupt you, but because these are, one moment, because these, at the beginning of each new round, these are chosen. If you take that cautious stance, you have that action banked while you're waiting. So if somebody's coming at you aggressive, in the reckless or aggressive or neutral, you have that ability to go ahead and use your action to brace or to impede whatever's happening.
Yes. So if something's happening near you or someone comes at you and you want to get involved in the aggressive stage or
Mm-hmm.
in the reckless phase, you can. So
Mm-hmm.
by the time we get to cautious, it's totally possible for someone to be out of actions because
Mm-hmm.
they immediately impeded on the
Mm-hmm.
reckless or aggressive turn to try to stop someone from attacking someone
Mm-hmm.
else,
Mm-hmm.
and then they followed that up with a brace because they got attacked themselves,
Yourself, yeah.
and so they may not get any chance to do anything on their turn. But cautious also is opened up to that wonderful prepare action
Yeah.
that is only available to someone who is cautious or reactive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's big to talk about prepare right now, because it's
Okay.
really the only thing that you get for being cautious, other than getting a chance to sort of get in where you fit in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So with brace and impede, you can do it if you're on aggressive with a whole bunch of other people. That's what those are there for. You can
Hmm.
brace or you can impede if you happen to fall behind, or you can save those actions to brace or impede until your next round. However, prepare being sort of reserved for people who take their time, you can set yourself up for the following round, gaining a temporary potential for your use during your next turn, and you win tiebreakers during the next approach you choose. So that becomes pretty big if you're
Yeah,
setting
that
up
that
for
does.
round two.
I mean, gaining that temporary potential, and that is in-game currency to empower things,
Yes.
to boost stuff up. So that can be very useful for setting yourself up for honestly like a very powerful round.
Yes, it can. So that second round, I found that using this system and the way that the characters are made for City of Demons, the other games we make from this core of rules may not be as much like this, depending on
Yeah.
how each designer
Hmm.
intends the game to go.
Yeah.
But for City of Demons, I want you to die if you get shot with a gun. I want magic to be powerful if there is magic. I want it to affect you right away.
Hmm.
I want people to recoil from sharp words. So if you lose a couple of big challenges, you're out. So if someone has taken their time on the first round to really save up for a big second round, I've
Hmm.
seen I've seen enemies go down on that second round due to a couple of people saving up. You got a couple of people who run in and do their thing while a
Yeah.
couple of
Yeah.
others hang back and take that cautious approach
I
and
think
come out with a bang.
I think part of that goes to party makeup as well. You know, and when you've designed
Hmm.
your characters and all the characters get together in their gang. Um, the one last thing I want to talk about the cautious, that if everything is down to that level in the initiative order, that's where the emotional goes first in cautious. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Well, and it's pretty much mostly going to be emotional or mental happening during
Yeah.
cautious, but
Yeah.
emotional gets to go first.
Hmm.
I rarely see the only time you see someone who wants to take an aggressive stance go on cautious is when they're setting up to be aggressive or reckless next turn.
Right. Gotcha.
That's
Gotcha.
exactly how that ends up working.
Now, the reactive stance. Let's talk about that briefly as well.
Okay. Reactive, you can get in where you fit in. You can
Mm.
choose to jump in after someone else goes at any time during conflict until the end of the round. And then by the end of the round, the reactive person can wait and be the last person to go, sort of feeling like they might be the first person to go next round.
Hmm.
Except that, well, so you can kind of do two things back to back if you want with reactive, or you can do the same thing a cautious player can do. You can immediately brace, you can
Hmm.
immediately um, impede, you can also immediately support anyone, which is another one of our conflict actions.
Yeah, yeah, and that comes in handy. You know, the um, I don't want to see everything. I equate everything to 5e, and I'm trying not to do that because it's not like that. But helping out teammates when you're going is a wonderful tool. We
Yeah.
talked a little bit about the actual actions that you can take. Let's go ahead and talk about because there is a list of them. If you want to touch on each of them briefly,
Yeah, I could do
we can go
that.
into the and we'll start with the brace. So, what does it mean to brace? To brace against an oncoming. It's not necessarily a physical attack, or is it?
It's not necessarily any physical attack. You can brace against a mental attack from a ghost. You can brace against an emotional attack from someone insulting you, because conflict doesn't mean combat. It
Hmm.
means there's friction between
Yeah, yeah,
characters
yeah.
that can inflict damage, that can ultimately hurt you or kill you, that can put conditions on your character that make things difficult for you.
Hmm.
So that's what conflict is. So when we brace, we're setting ourselves up to defend somehow,
Yeah,
whether it be
essentially.
blocking, dodging, evading, or just mentally preparing
Hmm.
or emotionally um,
Girding
bracing.
yourself. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, it makes sense that the way it's going to affect how much damage you would take, how much health damage is inflicted on you. Pardon
So
me.
if you're bracing, then you can only really brace against an attack or against a challenge
Hmm.
if you're going on the same phase as someone or the same approach,
Hmm.
unless you are reactive or unless you are cautious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so when you do that, you get to re-roll your defensive challenge roll
Yeah.
while you're bracing, which is a wonderful. It's better than +1. Um, it's actually just a really good, solid use of an action if you're trying to be defensive.
Hmm. Hmm. Now let's go into challenge. What? But give me an example of what a challenge would be. How you would challenge someone, or what that action would look or sound like.
Challenge is the broadest of all of our actions because because it's the thing you do the most in the game. You
Hmm.
can challenge uh, outside of conflict as well, but a challenge might be something as simple as trying to pick a lock or break down a door. When when we get into conflict, challenge becomes a little bit more. You can still do those things. You
Yeah.
can try to break down a door during conflict, or
Hmm.
you can try to hurt someone or hurt something.
Hmm.
So, whenever you want to cause wounds, whether they be physical, mental, or emotional, or whether you want to try to inflict a condition upon an opponent, that's when you're challenging.
That's where you go for the challenge. Now, empathize. That's another one that is kind of, at least to a more old schooler. That's a new kind of action. What would an empathize move look like, and who would you use that against?
Well, empathize is going to be more for, it's kind of a healing thing for emotional abilities in your group or
Hmm.
emotional wounds, I should say. And the more wounds someone has taken, the more difficult it will be to empathize with them because the worse you get hurt, the harder you are to
Oh
deal with.
yeah. Hmm.
And this is a way that you can heal. So, empathizing is strictly healing emotional wounds or um, giving the comforted condition. And the
Hmm.
comforted condition is another one of our conditions. It does something really nice for the character.
Hmm.
So, you do that when you're trying to help someone in your party out.
Okay. And then the empower, we talked about empowering before. Just go ahead since we're at the list, let's like touch on that one again.
Anytime you pay potential to activate an aptitude, or if you spend your potential on one of your game changers, then you have to empower to do so while you're
Hmm.
in conflict. You can't just do it for free. It does take an action.
Hmm.
Sometimes you're getting that action for free, sort of for free during,
Yeah.
um, like not aggressive, but in reckless, I think you get it for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, am I saying I got it right here? Yes, in reckless you get it for free, and
Hmm.
in neutral you get it for free.
For free. Yep. But other than that, it takes like conscious effort to to uh, activate to activate or empower something. So,
Yeah,
um,
you're doing something deep within you're drawing from your
mhm.
character's inner being.
Now the first aid, I'm assuming that's more of because we have empathize, and I'm thinking empathy is going to help. I guess you can empathize with somebody getting their nuts kicked in, but first aid may be a better choice, and I'm assuming that's
Probably
more of a
right.
physical kind of action there.
Yes, it is. This is trying to quickly treat wounds, stop the bleeding condition. If you're bleeding, you're going to be gaining wounds every turn. So if someone's bleeding in your party, it's imperative that you offer them first aid right away, or they may die.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
can happen pretty quickly.
Now, is that first aid action available like self first aid? Like, can you?
Yeah,
Does it? Someone have to be doing it to you, or can you just do it yourself? Like, readjust.
Any
Of
character,
yeah.
yourself or other.
Okay. Impede. How would you impede, or what could you impede? If someone, can you impede a fist flying at you? Can you impede a sharp witted taunt?
Yes, you
Exactly.
can.
What is? Tell us a little bit about impede and how that would.
When you say you're going to impede a challenge that's happening, you either have to be on the same approach or
Hmm.
you have to be cautious or reactive.
Hmm.
So when you decide to impede, they roll two challenge dice and must use the lower result
Lower.
on the
Okay.
challenge. So, and then you tell me narratively how that looks. So it's easy to think about impeding on a physical challenge.
Oh yeah, yeah,
It's super
yeah.
easy. I try to step in the way, I
Mhm.
wave my
Grab
arms in
his
front of their
fist. Yeah.
face, grab his
Hmm.
fist, you kick him in the leg, whatever. Not doing damage, but I'm making their life difficult.
But it can also be in like the social, more like the mental side, where it's like, oh well, I'm going to say no, kind of thing.
Don't
um,
listen to him. Don't
yeah,
listen to him.
yeah,
You
yeah,
got
you got
this.
this. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that it can be that simple to impede on an emotional or even a mental
and
challenge. It's
and
just being there, spending that action. You spent a whole action trying to make life better for your partner. So tell me what that looks like.
yeah. So let's go into influence. um, Tell us how an influence would work.
This is one that's very similar to a challenge,
Hmm.
except for it works a little bit differently. Once you gain the attention of a character, you are moving their alertness down.
Yes.
Alertness helps with tiebreakers. When we get ties in that initiative order, before we go to a die roll, we see, does anybody have tiebreakers?
And
Only players can get tiebreakers, by the way. Bad guys can never get tiebreakers.
this is honestly, influence is one of my favorite moves. In the play test, I play a character Baxter, Bax, and one of his favorite things is to bring somebody's alertness down. Yelling at them, calling them names and whatnot. So that then a more physical character, if it's a fight, now this is only like a fight kind of scenario, is able to get in there and kind of mop them up a little bit.
Yeah, it's any way you can give your brawlers a chance to go
Yeah.
first.
Hmm.
Influence really does the job, but influence is also a necessary component for some other abilities in the game
Yeah.
when you're trying to charm or distract,
Yeah. Yeah.
seduce,
Yeah.
things like that.
And those can also be considered conflicts as well, as long as I guess we could say if there's more than one or two rounds involved, then it's probably going to be considered a conflict.
If there's more than one or two versus challenges,
Yeah.
it's conflict.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of times that first versus challenge happens and everybody realizes how dangerous the situation is immediately and no one wants to continue because
Hmm.
no one wants to die.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That happens
Guys with yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Which I
oh,
don't
go
know.
ahead.
I grew up in a little bit of a rough background. I'm not saying I had the worst life coming up, that's for sure, but I was in a rough neighborhood and that's how it goes down a lot of
I
times.
tell you, I witnessed it.
Some guy gets hit real hard. You don't want to be
That
around to be the next one to get hit.
Yeah, they'll be talking it up. I hope this guy shows up. I hope this guy shows up. Sure enough, there's the car coming down the road. All right, you gonna get him? Yeah, I got this. One, and
Scatter.
it's over, man. Everybody's
It's
like,
over. Over
yeah.
and done with. Yeah.
So, Jason's joined us, calling us nerds. You know what, Jason? That's fine. Being nerd these days is a cool thing. So, let's go into a maneuver. Maneuver. Uh, what is it? What is it not? Because I'm going to tell you now, just reading it now, I have read this stuff. So, yeah. So, is it a movement or is it a special, like, kung fu move?
Yes, it's both. It can be either. You can
Oh, okay.
change with a maneuver. You can change conflict ranges. That's simple movement. I want to move from being close to this guy who can punch me away from him. That's a
Mm-hmm.
maneuver.
Mm-hmm.
Another maneuver might be to engage the enemy to move from far away and close. Another maneuver might be try to take the higher ground. If you have things around you that narratively make sense for you to get up on top of or go up some
Mm-hmm.
stairs, if you're able to take that higher ground, you get a plus one on physical challenges.
Yeah, climb those ropes, for the flying, elbow drop. I'm going to make a maneuver
And you
to
can
get there.
exactly, or you can do a little kung fu maneuver and feint on your next physical challenge. So some of those moves, like aggressive, where you could choose physical challenge, it might
Mm-hmm.
behoove you instead to choose a maneuver to give yourself that plus one. If you
Gotcha.
really want to slam that,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want to do home, it
Yeah.
could help.
And speaking of slamming home, that leads us straight into prepare. That's that when you're setting up for the coup d'état. Um, I might have made that word up, but it
You
sounded
may
cool.
have.
So tell us a little bit about prepare a little bit, and we talked about it before, but go ahead and touch on it again while we're here, and for those who's just joining us.
We did touch on it just a little bit, and again, it's gain a temporary potential for use during your next turn, and you win tiebreakers during your next approach.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see someone preparing, taking that cautious approach, preparing, and then maneuvering, which is a feint, and then you pretty much know that that person is probably going aggressive or even reckless next turn, and
Mm-hmm.
watch out because they've got something planned.
Yeah, yeah, they're set up. Now, reassure. Um, this this kind of feels like empathize. It kind of feels like it could be impede. What's different about reassure that makes it its own action?
Reassure is for mental, repairing
Okay,
mental damage. You
okay.
would you are going to. It's kind of like empathize, except
It's
for
kind of like
you're not going to.
first
Kind of
aid
like
for the
first aid.
mind. Gotcha.
Yep. And you can give a reassured condition, which is another one of those helpful conditions that you can give someone. And this is a little bit more than, hey, you got this, man. This is you really getting in close and being there for
Yeah,
someone in a very
yeah, yeah.
mental,
Actually,
difficult mental situation.
yeah, yeah. Giving more than just the goading or the good cheer. This is more in touch, saying like a little bit closer. I guess it were.
I will say that mental wounds are the hardest to deal with.
Hmm.
Whenever you pass a, we'll say, when someone needs to be physically healed, and you
Mm-hmm.
pass a first aid, the amount you pass by is called your success value. The success value is equal to the number of wounds you remove for a first aid. So if you're hurt pretty bad and I succeed by three, I'm going to take three of those wounds away. However,
Hmm.
in reassure, it works the same way when you're going to empathize with someone. But on
Hmm.
reassure, if you succeed by any amount, you take one mental wound away.
Hmm. Well, mental wounds are often the hardest to heal, so
Yes.
that makes sense. Support, Jim. Tell us about the support action.
When you're offering support to someone, an ally or a fellow gang member, then they can re-roll the die for the action that you have helped with. So you can only offer support if you're taking the same conflict approach as them and you have an action available. This is
Gotcha.
also where reactive opens up. They can do support anytime.
Yeah, and
If you
that's really handy, honestly.
Yeah, if you don't know what to do and you just want to be reactive and you see somebody do something you really want to help out with, that's when you can jump in with that one action that you have while you're reactive and jump in and support and basically give them a little bonus, re-roll that ugly die that and you can choose to support, when they roll a one, you can say, "Hey, I'm going to offer my support for this person." Great. Re-roll that
Okay.
die.
Okay. And that brings us to our last one. And this one, honestly, you're going to have to explain to me because I mean, I really can't see a survey is a positive in any kind of conflict. I mean, cold calling people to find out what their internet provider is, or their long distance carrier. So why would you survey someone during conflict there, Jim?
Well, we got to keep the lights on here at Even Footing Games, so we work these things in, and we take surveys, turn them in. That's how we get our
Turn
nickels and dimes.
Just hand them a flyer, say fill this out, and I'll take
Next
that
thing you
back.
know, you're getting calls from AT&T and your life insurance calls and your
I, I'm really glad you picked that joke up and ran with it with me, Jim. But really, let's what's survey all about?
survey is when you're going to gain knowledge of your surroundings or a character that's in conflict with you, or even a character outside of conflict, someone you can see.
Gotcha.
So if you're going to gain knowledge of the surroundings, it's basically asking your GM, hey, what can I do here?
Yeah,
And then we can brainstorm together some creative way to give you some sort of advantage on your
advantage. Yeah.
next action or next turn, whatever the case may be. But you also, if you do that, you gain the observant condition. This is another one of those things that bumps your alertness up and
Hmm.
helps you with those tiebreakers during conflict. So a survey can just be seen as another way to interact with that
Hmm.
tiebreaker mechanism that this a lot of people go on the same time
Oh
trying to do
yeah,
the same
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
How do I
That's
break
why.
that tie?
Yeah,
This is a
that's
good way to
really
do
like
that.
what I like about the influence and stuff. Ways to, I really think it's a neat way to deal with kind of like the initiative order and these abilities, being able to use them to kind of like muddy it up, or not muddy it up. That's the wrong term. To
To clear
not
up a
mix it
muddy
up.
situation, yeah.
It's to insert. Honestly, it's a lot like strategy, and being able to insert your actions, help insert your companion's actions into a certain order, as well as screw with the opponent's actions.
Yeah.
So we've covered the conflict
Ooh, that's
actions.
not all you can do with survey.
Oh, sorry.
That
I'm trucking right along, man. We're like 40. We're almost 45 minutes, man. Me and you could sit here and talk about this for 2 hours.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 45 minutes. We're almost done. So, the other thing you do with survey, so one we talked about is surveying the environment. If you want to survey a character, another character, you can learn that character's core, their
Ooh,
traits, their mindset, their fears, or their motivations. And you can use that information as you see fit. So, learning
that
what someone's traits are, you might learn what they're weakest at, learning or where they're strongest at, what to worry about with that character. If they have taken a cautious role and they look like they're over there preparing, you might want to look at them and see what they're up to. And
that
this is a way to
is
do that.
that is actually that makes this move very powerful. I can actually see using this move in a lot of situations with backs. Definitely, somebody who's not necessarily always going in, gung ho, that's sitting back,
Hmm.
reading the room, reading the opponents, and finding out exactly how to stick it where it hurts, for lack of a better analogy.
This is a way to interact with the narrative of this conflict
Yeah.
as player and GM. And that's what I really like about the survey action.
Yeah, yeah, it's really cool. So now I'm going to switch the slide now. We've covered the conflict actions. We're just going to talk real briefly on the conflict ranges. There's a lot of systems out there that are really dependent on what you can do and where you're at, and it's almost like chess in some of them. These are the current potential system combat ranges, as it is with City of Demons.
Well, this is also the babies and broadswords system, which I really
Oh,
like for
that's
the
fine.
narrative there. They have different names. You can either be adjacent to someone, which
Mm-hmm.
is within hand-to-hand striking distance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can use karate. You can still shoot them. It's generally within about 5 or 6 feet that you can actually physically interact with them. So that's adjacency.
Jason, yep. Long
Short
range
range,
or short range, sorry.
yeah, short range is where you can probably throw something to or at someone
Mm-hmm.
with relative ease, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not close enough to be punched.
Mm-hmm.
So that's generally 6 to 20, 25 feet, and these are very blurry on purpose.
Yeah, yeah.
When you go to use one of your actions, the maneuver, you are simply switching from adjacent to short range. You tell me how far that is, and
Mm-hmm.
and and if you're going to use an item, that item may have a range on it, so that's what's going to probably
Yeah.
dictate the
Mm-hmm.
how far away you say you want to be. So
Yeah.
the ranges have a little bit less to do with the really nitty gritty than what someone might have in their hand. If you see someone with a grenade and you've got like a pair of brass knuckles,
Mm-hmm.
and you just want to start creating, making up that space because they're not going to want to be in range with you.
Okay. And long range, I'm assuming that'd be more like firearms type thing.
Yep. And each
Okay.
firearm, you're just out of throwing range, which there are
Mm-hmm.
ways to make your range short range longer,
Mm-hmm.
but you're out of that range, but close enough to fire a weapon at your enemy. And that's going to depend on the weapon that you have. Each firearm has its own effective length, and those are just based very loosely on kind of real life weapons.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Now this last slide is a mystery to me. Oh, the consequences of the actions. A little bit when someone is badly injured. Um, oh, you kill someone, or you see someone expire. What does this mean to your character in the game?
Most people have a pretty adverse reaction to seeing someone get hurt badly.
Mm-hmm.
If your criminal is a novice to those things, you can
Mm-hmm.
determine when this action with consequence happens for your character, or if you just don't want to play it at all and you say, I've been a criminal my whole life, I've seen people die. Actions with consequences is sort of like in Babies and Broadswords, we have the big kids rules.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those for City of Demons. If you want to play through that moment where the first time you actually kill someone, you have a reaction, you may. And we're
Mm-hmm.
going to make a resistance roll to see how
Mm-hmm.
your character handles it. We're going to apply a condition of stress or a condition that's related to your core to
Mm-hmm.
your character so that you have a role playing moment, and it's actually going to affect your character's stats a little bit.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
again, it's optional if you like to play that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, and I do. I like the narrative stuff. I love the role playing stuff. So
You
being
had you
able,
had a consequence seeing
yeah,
someone
yeah,
die
yeah,
as
the
Vax.
is backs. We were chased down. We're being chased by a motorcycle gang and firing at them to try to get away. And one of them went down. Bax is a teenager, so everything up to that point had kind of been almost a game. Um,
18, no children got hurt in the filming
yeah.
of this. Yeah.
So so when he saw someone go down, it was one of the first times he was like, "Wow, there's no reset here." So getting in that mindset with that character was really cool, and I like the fact that this is in there for that reason.
Yeah, just optional. If you want to play through it,
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Most of my players really enjoy this, but I've had a couple of players who said, "You know what? No, maybe I would like to do that at some point, but my character is a trained killer. This
Gotcha.
is not phasing." Hey, absolutely. It's up to
Oh
you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It really is. Like it's something that you can bite on to help with role playing and whatnot, and deal with it through that. And I suppose the GM could enforce some like something along those lines because the potential system is being designed to use parts when you want to use parts, and
Yeah.
we will be getting a lot in the weeks to come We've just gone over the conflict section. We haven't talked about stats. We mentioned that it's a D6 system, but we haven't said where these pluses come from, how the substats work, with the mindsets. We got so much stuff to cover, and we're looking at almost an hour here, and we've just kind of touched on the conflict. So we got weeks and weeks to talk
Oh,
about this.
Kiku. We do have weeks and weeks, and my dog is telling me that our time is up. That's my production manager over here making sure I stay tight on time. So we have someone. Well,
So
Kiku.
um, I really enjoyed talking and being here with everybody. My name's Mike.
I'm
Yeah, I got.
Jimmy with Even Footing Games, and
I
I'm
see
super
it.
glad you guys tuned in.
You know what? That was a bit abrupt. Okay, let's back it up just a little bit, man. I'll tell you what. Every one of us over at Even Putting Games, we got a hard time turning off the mic or deciding how it stops or when it stops or how we get out of this mess that we've created for ourselves. First thing I want to do though is talk a little bit more about Even Putting Games. Go to evenfootinggames.com. Check us out there. We make role playing games that people get a kick out of. Also, we really want you to join us on Discord. Our links there, I'll make sure the power's in charge. Put that link on Discord as well as available on YouTube. So it's on our website. Come hang out, see how crazy and silly we are.
We have
We
a
we
really
implore
fun
you.
community growing there as we
Yes, yes.
speak, and we're getting more and more cool people joining who just want to be part of the community. There are babies and broadswords lovers, and there are people really looking forward to see what potential has to offer and
Mm-hmm,
what's going to happen with City of Demons
mm-hmm,
next.
mm-hmm.
So come join that community and tell us what you think about the projects. Give your input. If you want to get into a game, we offer uh, the first shots at these games that we're doing. Like we have Patreon
Mm-hmm.
people playing in City of Demons right now in alpha testing. We have Discord people that are just part of our community playing in these games, playing Babies and
Mm-hmm.
Broadswords, playing
And
City of Demons.
that's how you'll be able to get involved. We got currently there's monthly games. I mean, Patreon's going to get first choice for seat. Definitely check us out there. We would love to have you as a Patreon. But then it's offered out to Discord, our Discord audience in general. So there's always something going on. I'll tell you what, I always forget to do this. If you've enjoyed this, please follow us, like our stuff. We are trying to get a bigger following, and we got some goals that we're trying to hit with Twitch as well as YouTube. So you can check us out there. We have podcasts of actual gameplay as well as the point 5 table talks. Right now, I think they're in a an avatar situation on the podcast, and you can search evenfootinggames.com anywhere you listen to podcasts, and take a look at those.
I think I'm
They are
allowed to
really
say so on this one because I'm not involved. I was in the Babies and Broadswords 25 episodes, 26 episodes, but because I'm not in the Avatar Legends one, I can say it's fun to listen to. It's a cool game. There's a really good story going on.
this was the first week. Again, I'm the new guy, so they let me in, let me edit some of the play, and I have no idea. I've never watched Avatar, so like I'm listening to it, and it's very entertaining. I enjoy
It's
it.
pretty good. Yeah, it's a pretty good show.
So, what else do we got to? Oh, babies and broadswords. Yes,
Babies
definitely
and
check
Broadswords.
that. It's available. Yeah, I go into that. Hey, Happy Harvey here. Check out Babies and Broadswords. It's available at Amazon.com. You want a physical copy? We got that. You want a PDF copy? I think we got that. Go
You
check it
got
out.
that.
That's at Amazon.com as well as Drive Through RPG. Also, check out Drive Through RPG. I think there's a quick start, and soon we will be having, I don't know when, nobody does, it's a mystery, but Crawl,
Crawl of Cthulhu.
no one knows when it's coming out. I swear. But as soon as I find out, we'll let you know. You can follow us on social media,
It will
Facebook,
definitely be
Instagram.
out by Halloween of 2024. I promise.
So we got this. We got this under control. So, anyways, now here's where we go to sign off. I'm Mike, the new guy at Even Footing Games,
And I'm Jimmy. I'm the systems design guy.
and we've had a ball hanging out with you guys. See you next week. Like, oh, it's asking me if I want to end. Do we want to end yet? Do I got something on? Okay, yeah, we're in it. Bye.